Hello, and welcome to the Joy of Classic Cars. My name is Neil Bradley. I'm the host of this show, and here I am next to my classic. I guess one of the things that gives me the great joy is being able to take a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, pull my classic here under the tree, and just spend time just cleaning and just shining the whatever chrome is here. You know, I like to take this segment to introduce to you my classic car. I'd like to introduce to you Grand Old Lady. You see Grand Old Lady in the opening segment of the show, and wherever I end up going to film classic cars, you'll see this car. And so I thought I'd like to take a moment to just give you a little background of the car that brings me great joy. You know, I got interested in the Edsel back in 1969. There was a news program called First Tuesday, and it premiered the first Tuesday of every month. And one night I was looking at that, and they showed the first Edsel convention that was held in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I remember, oh my gosh, these cars are really neat. And I found myself wanting to learn more about the Edsel automobile. Well, I was in 8th grade at the time, and wouldn't you know, as I was heading to school the very next day, this car drove right in front of the school bus. I would see this car periodically throughout the years, and then I lost touch of it. Well, then in 1973, I was taking someone home, and there, what I saw in someone's backyard was this station wagon. I gave my name to the family and said if they were ever interested in selling it, I'd be very happy to buy it. Well, wouldn't you know that on Labor Day 1973, they were interested in selling it. I remember that year thinking, you know, I want to do something special to celebrate Labor Day. And I remember walking in. Of course, my dad gave a few stipulations about whether or not I could get an Edsel. The number one stipulation was the car had to cost no more than $50. Well, I remember I was helping a friend move, and I came in and the phone rang. And this lady asked what my name was. And I said, hello, is this Neil Bradley? I said, yes, it is. And she gave her name, and she wanted to know, was I, interested in buying her Edsel? And I couldn't remember what Edsel she was talking about. Well, then she said, well, weren't you Neil Bradley, and weren't you interested in our white Edsel station wagon? I said, oh, yes. And I said, well, listen, how much are you selling it for? And she said, I couldn't take more than $50. Well, I said, I will buy it. Well, anyway, I was an excited person because now I was finally getting an Edsel. So anyway, on Labor Day, we decided we would tow this car home. And as you're able to see in the picture, it was stored in the backyard, stuck there for about 5 years. Well, anyway, I got a guy to help tow this car. Well, needless to say, he was not too happy. Well, when we got the car home and we got it in the driveway, the first thing he told my mother was, hey, lady, people pay me to tow these hunk-of-junks out of driveways, not in. But needless to say, everyone came from all over the neighborhood to see my Edsel because they knew I'd been wanting one. Well, anyway, that relationship with this car began in 1973. My dad took vacation time and we restored it. As you can see, the car had a lot of rust on it. But anyway, Dad helped me. We got fiberglass and redid the fenders. I ended up getting a lot of new parts. A friend helped me restore rebuild the engine, because when I first started this car up after it sat for many years, you would have thought the house was on fire, because basically blue smoke billowed everywhere. And on the first trip that I took with this car, I got 88 miles to report it over. But needless to say, a friend helped me rebuild the engine, and it's going strong 30,000 miles later. Restored the car, repainted it, and I was able to take it to a variety of shows and enjoy it for 11 years. Well, in 1984, a friend of mine said that, you should think about getting a different Edsel. And so I was talked into buying an Edsel convertible that I named Christine 2. You remember the movie Christine with the possessed 58 Plymouth that Stephen King wrote about? Well, that convertible compared. Well, anyway, I sold Grand Old Lady to a friend. And all he did was promptly put this car in the backyard and let it rot away. He covered it with a funeral home top that burned all the paint off. Well, anyway, I lost sight of the car for, I guess, 20 years. And then I had heard that he had passed away. Christmas of 2003, I wrote the family and I said, is this true that Dave had passed away? And his wife called back and said, yes, it really was. Anyway, would I be interested in buying my old Edsel back? Well, needless to say, in May of 2004, 20 years and 1 month to the day that I sold it. For the same amount that I sold it, I bought it back. But interesting enough, it was not in the shape that I sold it. I remember when we pulled up to the to the field where it had been stored, I saw this rust on the roof and I saw it sagging. I said, oh no, oh no. Well, anyway, I took a look at it. We got it on the trailer and I sort of went to the fender and I said, girl, I'm going to take you back home. Brought it back home, worked and got it back on the road again, and it was really awesome. 2005, was able to take it to its first show. Now, if you take, when you see this car close up, it's not in the best condition. I understand that. And I remember going to the Edsel convention in 2005, and someone came up to me and said, you know, you have guts driving this car to the show. What he was really saying is many people may have been embarrassed to drive a car that wasn't in great shape. But what I want to share with you, and I hope that we'll enforce this throughout the show, we're going to interview, we're going to highlight many beautiful cars. But hey, the joy of owning a classic car is being able to drive it and to have fun with it. It doesn't have to be in perfect condition. And if anything, I can encourage you, just because your car may not be perfect, it may be in primer, it may be beaten up, and as you look over on one side, you're going to see a bashed-in fender, because when we were bringing this car home, we didn't have it far enough on the trailer. And all of a sudden, as we got into a limited access highway, all of a sudden the car started rolling. And evidently that trailer took us over 4 lanes of traffic. And just as we were getting ready to flip over, all of a sudden as the car was flipping around, it hit one of those mile marker pylons. And as it came around, it sliced the fender, but when it hit the bumper, it stopped the sway. And we were able to get the car stopped. So anyway, this car is a survivor. And I am proud to drive it, and I'm proud to show it. And I hope you'll be proud to see it everywhere that I go when we pull up to classic cars, to be able to experience the joy of classic cars. Anyway, there's great plans for this car. Many people ask, do I plan to restore it? Yes, I do. In fact, I mentor a 21-year-old, and I gave it to him, and he has great plans. And I hope as you're taking a look at this car, you can envision it, seeing it one day, black and red, with fancy chrome wheels. One day, Grand Old Lady is going to really be a styling machine. You know, another great milestone that I had in enjoying this car was in 2007, the Edsel celebrated its 50th anniversary. And we all met in Dearborn, Michigan. And they were calling to bring every Edsel possible to meet in one place to have the largest assembly of Edsels ever. And I want you to know, I took Grand Old Lady. You know, many people trailer their cars, but I drove this one. Interesting enough, when we got to Cincinnati, the generator went out. I thought, oh well, that ends that. But wouldn't you know, I ended up being 2 miles from the place that repairs generators. And I limped Grand Old Lady down there to this place. They had a generator in stock, and 3 hours later, I was back on the road. So anyway, Grand Old Lady has given me a lot of joy in experiencing classic cars. And I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about my pride and joy. Now, I want to hear about yours. Contact us, send us a picture, send us your story, and maybe in a future episode, we'll be able to highlight your classic car. Well, thank you very much. Coming up next, we are going to Town Square Mall to enjoy the Sunset Cruisers Cruise-In that they hold there the first Saturday of every month. But before we do, I want to take a moment to thank those who are making this show possible.